I say decided, but every minute of the previous afternoon was just as decisive. And what was in the letter? Asked Kay. Yes, I haven't told you that yet, said Olga. The letter was from Sortini, addressed to the girl with the garnet necklace. I can't repeat the contents. It was a summons to come to him at the Herrenhof, and to come at once, for in half an hour he was due to leave. The letter was couched in the vilest language, such as I had never heard, and I could only half guess its meaning from the context. Anyone who didn't know Amalia and saw this letter must have considered a girl who could be written to like that as dishonored, even if she had never had a finger laid on her. And it wasn't a love letter. There wasn't a tender word in it. On the contrary, Sortini was obviously enraged because the sight of Amalia had disturbed him and distracted him in his work. Later on, we pieced it all together for ourselves. Evidently, Sortini had intended to go straight to the castle that evening, but on Amalia's account had stayed in the village instead. And in the morning, being very angry because even overnight he hadn't succeeded in forgetting her, had written the letter. One couldn't be but furious on first reading a letter like that. Even the most cold-blooded person might have been. But though, with anybody else, fear at its threatening tone would soon have got the upper hand, Amalia only felt anger. Fear she doesn't know, neither for herself nor for others. And while I crept into bed again, repeating to myself the closing sentence, which broke off in the middle, see that you come at once, or else. Amalia remained on the window seat, looking out, as if she was expecting further messengers and were prepared to treat them all as she had done the first. So, that's what the officials are like, said Kay reluctantly. That's the kind of type one finds among them. What did your father do? I hope he protested energetically in the proper quarter, if he didn't prefer a shorter and quicker way of doing it at the Herrenhof. The worst thing about the story isn't the insult to Amalia. That could easily have been made good. I don't know why you lay such exaggerated stress upon it. Why should such a letter from Sortini shame Amalia forever? Which is what one would gather from your story, but that's a sheer impossibility. It would have been easy to make up for it to Amalia, and in a few days the whole thing might have blown over. It was himself that Sortini shamed, and not Amalia. It's Sortini that horrifies me, the possibility of such an abuse of power. The very thing that failed this one time because it came naked and undisguised and found an effective opponent in Amalia might very well succeed completely on 1,000 other occasions in circumstances just a little less favorable, and might defy detection even by its victim. "Hush," said Olga. "Amaya's looking this way." Amaya had finished giving food to her parents and was now busy taking off her mother's clothes. She had undone the skirt, hung her mother's arms around her neck, lifted her a little while she drew the skirt off, and now gently set her down again. Her father, still affronted because his wife was being attended to first, which obviously only happened because she was even more helpless than he, was attempting to undress himself. Perhaps, too, it was a reproach to his daughter for her imagined slowness. Yet although he began with the easiest and least necessary thing, the removal of the enormous slippers in which his feet were loosely stuck, he could not get them pulled off at all, and wheezing hoarsely was forced to give up trying and leaned back stiffly in his chair again. "But don't you realize the really decisive thing?" said Olga. "You may be right in all you say, but the decisive thing was Amalia's not going to the Herrenhof. Her treatment of the messenger might have been excused. It could have been passed over, but it was because she didn't go that the curse was laid upon our family, and that turned her treatment of the messenger into an unpardonable offense. Yes, it even brought forward openly later as the chief offense." "What?" cried Kay, at once lowering his voice again as Olga raised her hands imploringly. "Do you, her sister, actually say that Amalia should have run to the Herrenhof after Sortini?" "No," said Olga. "Heaven preserve me from such a suspicion. How can you believe that? I don't know anybody who's so right as Amalia in everything she does. If she had gone to the Herrenhof, I should of course have upheld her just the same. But her not going was heroic. As for me, I confess it frankly. Had I received a letter like that, I should have gone, and I shouldn't have been able to endure the fear of what might happen. Only Amalia could have done that, for there were many ways of getting around it. Another girl, for instance, might have decked herself up and wasted some time in doing it, and then gone to the Herrenhof, only to find that Sortini had left, perhaps to find that he had left immediately after sending the message, which is very probable, for the moods of the gentleman are fleeting. But Amalia neither did that nor anything else. She was too deeply insulted and answered without reserve. If she had only made some pretense of compliance, if she had but crossed the threshold of the Herrenhof at the right moment, our punishment could have been turned aside. We have very clever advocates here who can make a great deal out of a mere nothing. But in this case, they hadn't even the mere nothing to go on. There was, on the contrary, the disrespect to Sortini's letter and the insult to his messenger.